we do have holes on our backup crew some days. I mean, we do have, it would be nice to have more staff. And for that, we have a plan too. We got a plan in place. We got 2 staff members that just recently received their instructor coordinator. And we're hoping to do an EMT course this fall. And I'm hoping we're gonna get some locals that are gonna be interested in helping out the community. Not necessarily searching for a career, but helping out their community. Yeah, I mean, we don't get any revenue from that. When they come here, they bill the patient and they bill us $750, but it's gonna be the same thing for us. If we back them up, we're gonna bill the patient and we're gonna bill them $750, so we're making that in return too.
And to kind of point it out, just kind of in that, generally speaking, I don't think the department has ever been, it's been a long time since the department has been this self-sufficient,
Right.
not reliant on taxpayers to subsidize the ambulance department.
Yeah.
So by getting a bigger community area that we serve, we've increased our revenues enough to basically have to ask for less from taxes. So we're in pretty good shape, even with the mutual aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in support of it, I just wanted to make sure what the question was asked.
Yeah, and it's good because we can explain it out loud.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, keep going. Dispatch, emergency contracted services dispatch, that's a 3-way sharing with the police and the fire department. Our share is $13,000. Dues, subscriptions, memberships, that's, we pay dues to like the Region 5 EMS, that we have to be part of that, so that's what that covers. License, permits, and certifications, that's our main EMS license that we need to renew every year, to keep up with that. Postage, self-explanatory, that's flat at $50, and the previous 2 had not changed at all. Printing, advertising, that's flat as $50 still. Travel and trainings at $4,200. This pays for our continuing education classes that we take when staff come in for trainings, or if they have to travel for trainings, that's what that covers. That's staying flat at $4,200. Moving on to supplies, office supplies, $600. This covers general office supplies and our water cooler that we have. We pay for the water as well. General supplies, that's for our laundry, soaps, car washes, things like that we buy for the ambulances. And med supplies is at $25,000. I was able to bring that down a few years ago. That's pretty good to where we've been. I haven't had to go over that since, so that's been good at the $25,000. Oxygen is at $2,000, that's a stalemate as well. Utilities, you got your telephone, your internet, those are stalemate at $25,000 and $600 each.
And if I can jump in, we had a lot of discussion about that. Carol and I looked at the phones last year, so, not last year, but last week, and we have some fax lines that we still have that are hardwired, so they're through Consolidated. A lot of those fax line plans are those old plans that have a high rate, so we think we can negotiate with them. There are places that have fax lines, like we talked to Kevin at Public Works, and they use the fax so little down there that we could probably eliminate that, but we haven't figured out yet whether or not there's anything else dependent on that fax line. The phone lines at Public Works and the pollution control don't come through the internet, through Spectrum, comes through Consolidated because Spectrum doesn't jump across the railroad tracks there. So we have to keep Consolidated over there, and we could probably talk to them about negotiating a better rate. We have one fax line at the town office that we'll probably want to keep, primarily because, and we talked about this, a lot of stuff we do by email scanning and emailing and stuff, but we don't like to fax. We don't like to email financial information. Like sometimes we have to give routing information for finance, for transfers and stuff like that. And fax is a secure way to do that than email. So we kind of need to keep that, but we could probably be more of a hub for faxing for other departments. So we are taking a look at Consolidated to figure out which of the lines that we don't need anymore. I know pollution control has a number of hard lines that are tied through Consolidated that are related to his SCADA system that monitors flows in all the pump stations. That, it needs to stay that way. We have, like at the rec department, we have a line there for the dial-out system for the fire alarm. That's hardwired through Consolidated. So there are opportunities. I think we can find savings, and I think it's primarily if we can eliminate a few accounts, a few facts, a few hard numbers, and then from there, call Consolidated and say, all right, you know, you gotta get us out of these old plans and give us something more current. And I think we'll do good on that. So our phone system consists of Consolidated, cell phones are in there too. Okay, so those of us, like I have a cell phone, Public Works has a cell phone, Rec has a cell phone, that's all part of that telephone line item in the budgets. Fax lines, the VoIP system, you know, the 3CX VoIP system is in there. And then, I think that's it. Am I missing anything, Carol?
Yeah, if you go to.
Well, we'll come up with something before we get this process done.
Yeah. I know there are some faxing solutions available that are done fax to email, where it's a much cheaper solution to get rid of, you know, hardwired fax lines and do it all through email. So people fax one number and it can go to different email addresses
Yeah.
depending on who they.
You're probably talking about those zip files and stuff like that, or those.
No, it's done through Office 365, which we have a subscription for.
Okay.
There's ways where they would, still, the person at the other end would still fax to a regular phone number,
Mhm.
but then it would go to the Public Works email address instead of printing out over a traditional fax line.
That would be good.
Yeah, and they're pretty cost efficient, so.
Mhm.
And for example, the phone line at the rec for the auto dialer, that actually doesn't dial anywhere because the sheriff's office doesn't accept.
It dials you guys.
No,
It
it
dials,
doesn't.
it dials a paging, right? Or
Nope.
something, Jim? The dialer at the rec department, what does that dial to? It calls,
No,
no, it doesn't call Rosick, but it calls down here, or somebody.
Well, I used to call Twin Rivers,
In the middle,
Yeah.
and now it doesn't
Well, we
anymore, so I
do.
don't know.
Well, I think we redirected that call to call, like, fire chiefs and captains or something like that.
Call it.
no, because I was the one that programmed that. I was the one who programmed the auto
Oh,
dialer,
really?
and it hasn't been reprogrammed since we got rid of Escom,
Okay,
because there's no one you can call that,
so we'll have to look into that.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, keep going. Next. On the minor equipment, we got software and computers. I think that includes our agreement with our company, right?
With the managed services, yeah.
Right. And that stays flat at 2,000. Minor equipment, that's $2,200. This can buy anything from, you know, a printer, if a printer dies, or, you know, little things that we might need around the building, just minor stuff. that we can buy.
Am I reading that wrong, Eric, or is there no number for the software and
No,
computer?
There is no number, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
my
your
bad.
your software comes in through your safety complex budget.
Through the safety, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, so
No.
minor equipment is 2,000, sorry, that stays flat. And then repair, that's if anything needs repairs. We do have also a company that has to come in and check our equipment, like our cardiac monitors and our thermometers and stuff like that, and they put a stamp of approval that it's still functional, it's still good. Kind of a little bit of an insurance policy, you know, to make sure that our equipment's actually being inspected and making sure that it operates properly, so that kind of covers that as well. Vehicle and equipment, you got your gas and fuel, that is at 10,000, that's gonna stay there. Repair and maintenance, that's at 10,000 as well, and that too will pretty much stay there. Bringing us to 690, actually $4,000, and well, excuse me, it'll be more than that, we'll add 20 grand to that now, unfortunately. Or it's 11,000, so you'd be at 701, correct? 53.
So now you'd be at 7,039 over last year.
Yeah,
with that 20,000,
right.
Yeah.
Well, we're bringing it up 11,000. So.
11,000 roughly.
Right, roughly. Yes.
One thing that I wanted Eric to talk about a little bit is the status of our fleet, the ambulance fleet.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. 2010 ambulance, 11 years old. Kevin can vouch for this, he sees it down in his garage a lot lately, we just lost the tailpipe on it again. Over the since July, we've actually dumped $3,500 into that ambulance, for little repairs. We had a heater, door latches that I've been letting go, a fuel tank that we had to change, some wheel bearings. This is something, it's up to 125,000 miles now. Our typical rotation has always been 10 years. We're at 11 years now with this ambulance. It's been good to us, but I'm not sure. I would certainly like to see us go ahead and start making, looking into replacing that ambulance this coming year, mainly because it's just one of those things that we're putting a lot of money into it, just putting these Band-Aids into it, and I just have a hard time with that. So yeah, I would certainly like to seek permission to go ahead and get some quotes for a new ambulance to replace that one.
What we've been doing is we've been paying ambulance, we've been lease owning them for 5 years. And we've been paying the annual payment out of the reserves. So it's money that we've been setting aside, but paying from there, so it's not really hitting, it's not gonna be a line item in this budget
Right.
if we were gonna do that. That's what the reserve account is for.
Right. Reserve account.
But rather than deplete it and borrowing out cash, you know, with the interest rates being as low as they are, we just lease them out and pay it over time, and that allows us to keep a little more cash in the bank. Helps us with cash flow at times, you know, before our new tax bills go out.
Is that the oldest one we have?
Yep. Yeah, that one is in 2010. The middle one is 2015, and our last one, our newest one, is in 2018.
Remounting, any options on that?
We can certainly look into that, yes.
I know there can be some pretty good savings on a remount. Replace the chassis and swap the box over, but it'd be worth checking into. I mean, in 10 years, there may be some upgrades there that are worthy, but it's worth looking into, I would think. But
I had some thoughts too that a lot of concerns that the staff has brought up too, is during our winters, we've been getting some real harsh windy snowstorms lately. I would really like to see if we could purchase at least a four-wheel drive chassis that we can, at least one in our fleet, that we can have to take out on a real bad windy days like we had just not so long ago. Those can tend to be a little bit more expensive. They could potentially do the remount.
remount saves the money on the four-wheel drive.
I'm most certainly open to exploring that option as well, but I would like to seek some quotes for that, absolutely, sooner than later before we have, because we're one big ticket item from a breakdown here at some point. The transmission has done a few little funny slips here and there, nothing too concerning, but.
What's the turnaround time to get them delivered?
Right now, the last one we ordered was about it took us, we ordered it in August, we got it in April or end of March. Looking at 8 months, 9 months, if not longer right now with COVID. So I think we can anticipate probably close to a year with COVID. Now, with that being said, he does on occasion have some demo units that he's got in the area here that, and with the remount, I wouldn't be able to answer, I don't know how long it's taken them to do remounts right now. But if you were to buy a new one, yeah, you're probably looking at close to a year. And he's got, on occasion, like I said, he's got demo units that are available that, if that would suit us, great,
If we do go the remount option, how long is our ambulance gonna be out of service? Can you deal with the out of service ambulance?
That there, when you either make a purchase or an agreement for a remount like that, Autotronics usually lends us a loaner for free.
Okay.
Should get one.
When you remount, you're saying you're using the old,
You use the old box, and what they do though with the remount, they do a great job. They can do what you want. They can strip that box, put all new lights on there. They'll usually change out all the wiring because that's a safety issue. New door latches, and then it's essentially almost a new.
Most of your hardware is all refurbished, all your hinges
Right.
and all that's redone.
It's all redone, paint, all new, so, I mean, they do a good job with remounts as well.
Well, we could get a quote for either or.
And that comes at a savings, I mean, of course, and yeah, we can get a quote for either or, I'm more.
Either or, and then get one for two-wheel, four-wheel.
Right.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I can look into that, absolutely.
That's actually a good idea.
But
We live in North
we ought to be thinking about
You want to make
Yeah.
swapping that
Well,
out.
it'd be nice
It's
to
gonna
have.
take a year to get it. By the time you
Yeah,
get there, we'll be that much further along with the old
I,
one.
sorry.
yeah,
I would entertain a motion if somebody wants to make a motion.
So I'll make a motion to allow the ambulance director to go out and ask for bids for the options requested, so two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive new, and then two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive remount, just to see what option we can get.
okay,
And I will second that.
we'll do that.
All in favor? Opposed?
Chris, you know, I love
I
it.
wanted to, I made a little bit of a spreadsheet. It's the, with ambulance reserve projections for current budget. And that was on your desk before you got here.
Yep.
I just wanted to kind of show you comparison over the last year, where we ended up. Column on the right was previous year. Column on the left is current year. And you'll see all the way down to January, that we have actual figures, and then from February through June, those are projections for revenue using a 7-month average from the first 7 months of the year. So we're projecting that, if those averages hold true, that we would end up with about $613,000 in revenue for the ambulance department, as compared to last year's 509. That, couple of things what's driving that number up, the revenue to be more. We're getting a better reimbursement rate from Medicare, from insurances, when we got in Grand Isle. So we're getting that assessment from them, plus the call revenue as well. So that's all helping to improve our bottom line. If you can look down to the bottom there, it's current year revenue projection, not including assessments from the town, it's 582, 183. Amount approved at town meeting in the article, revenues in excess of this goes to the ambulance reserve. So 375, it was what was approved at town meeting for revenues budgeted in to reduce taxes. So what we're projecting is that we're probably gonna have $207,000 of revenue that's gonna go into the reserve. Okay, so if you look to the right of that page, you can see that the current ambulance reserve is $604,304, carrying in that 2020-2021 projected surplus of $207,183. That would bring our 2021 to 2022 reserve projected at $811,487. We built in the $250 again this year to take out of the reserve, because our target balance for the reserve has been by the previous boards, about $500,000. So we would take out the $250 to reduce taxes, add back in the Frenchville, Grand Isle, Senegat assessment revenue, and after all those transactions take place, we would still have a revenue balance of $592, reserve balance of $592,412, and then we need to back out the payment for the ambulance that has 2 payments left, right?
there should be just two, yeah, I think, and one should be delivered any time, right?
Yeah,
I think,
so that's about 50.
so that'll leave us one more.
Right. So we're in a good position, and I just wanted to highlight that, roughly speaking, we are about $100,000 away from being self-sufficient with the ambulance department. I think that's phenomenal, considering the struggles with ambulance departments all over the state. So
You're saying you have 2 payments left on an ambulance?
on our newest one, we have 2
Yep.
payments left.
And do you know what those payments are roughly?
48, 49, how much?
Yeah, it's about 50.
It's about 50,000.
You got 2 of them, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Eric?
Yep.
I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done? Thought you were done.
What else you got?
The main EMS, they're adopting new rules this year. Part of those rules include ambulance specifications, and the old stretcher mounts that we have in there right now, I shouldn't call them old, but the stretcher mounts that we have in there right now, they are outdated, and they no longer pass the requirements for, crash testing. They have been known to actually have stretchers just dislodged from them on when an ambulance rolls over. Now they're requiring us to look into the new mounting, systems that they have out there. I'm glad you guys are all sitting down. There's two different, one of them serves as two roles, so, but just a mount, the new mount that they have, that's gonna be for the required, that are like, be under the requirements is a performance load system is what they call it. That right there for one ambulance, $10,300.
I'm not surprised.
This is essentially just a mount. It does plug your stretcher in, so it keeps your batteries charged. I know that's not a $10,000 item, but that's what this is. This is called the Stryker Performance Load System. The other option we have is what you call your power load system. This one actually lifts your stretcher, and so the EMT or the staff members don't need to do any more lifting when they lift patients, so it can reduce the incidence of injuries when you're lifting and all that. That one per ambulance is $26,300. We're gonna be forced here in the next 5 years to do either one or the other. We're gonna have to retrofit all our ambulances with this. The new one, I can get the new one quoted with that stretcher mount already in there, but the other two are gonna have to be swapped out here in the coming years. And really, I'd like to look at just the problem with this is if we can't just do, if we do one, that stretcher will not go into another ambulance anymore. So if we have a problem with a stretcher in that ambulance, I can't just take that stretcher and move it to the other ambulance because it doesn't fit in that mount. So we're kind of in a rock.
You'll probably need new stretchers too, I would imagine.
Well, no, the stretchers we have, the last three that we bought, which are all in good shape, and these are all current, there's a little kit they have to put on it to retrofit the stretcher for that. The last one we just bought this past summer, that one's all set. That one's ready to go for this new mounting system, but the other two are gonna have to get this little retrofit kit put on. And that's all included in this price. So that's where I'm at. I'd like to request that we pursue, decide whichever one. These are the official quotes that I got from, Autotronics. I can, certainly reach out to others, but this is a quote directly from Stryker. They're the only ones. Stryker, there's nobody else that makes these mounts. I'm not gonna find prices under anybody else. That's what it is. So I'd like to maybe go ahead and use capital reserve fund to go ahead and switch two of our latest ambulances, obviously not the oldest one if we're gonna be getting it replaced, but swap out those two. So we'll be in compliance here in the coming years with the main EMS mandated rules.
So you're requesting two mounts?
Well, yes, yeah. Now, it's to determine, I know most of the staff would certainly like to have the power load one. That's $26,300, because it does alleviate the lifting that we have to do with patients. And again, I can reinforce that you can certainly prevent injuries with lifting and stuff like that. But it's up to the board. I would recommend the power load one. I hate the price just as much as you do. I think anything tied to these specialty vehicles is highway robbery, but we're at the mercy of it.
How much can we get for our old ambulance that we don't want anymore?
The last few ambulances we traded in there, when we got rid of those, we got maybe, I think the last one we got $4,500. It wasn't much. It wasn't more than $5,000.
I was just wondering.
We handed one down to Kevin one year. I don't know if he wants another one, maybe.
The one thing that's, the one thing that I always worry about when it comes to workplace injuries, if we have a comp claim in any one of our departments that results in expenditures, medical expenses being paid, it hits our mod rate and it hits all of our departments,
Yeah.
not just one. So, you know, to the extent that it is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but if somebody in the ambulance department gets injured because of heavy lifting and they end up on compensation and there's a claim paid out, it's not gonna affect us that next year, it's gonna affect us the next year, it's gonna hit our mod rate for 2 years. And if we don't, it will fall back in the good graces of a workers' comp and get back to, as long as we stop having claims, bring our mod rate back down. So it's expensive when our mod rate goes up, it hurts big time. So can't predict whether or not somebody would get hurt with lifting somebody with the into an ambulance. It probably would tell you that if somebody did, it resulted in a claim, we would definitely pay off one of those
Oh, yeah.
on the moderate side of things, on the insurance side of it.
Especially with
So
spinal
just food for
injury.
thought, you know.
Would the money come out of the reserve?
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric?
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever incurred any kind of injury there when it comes to having to, yeah, I mean, as far as your staff, yeah, as far as,
Nothing recent, but my father ended his career because of a back injury. He ruptured 2 discs in his back in 2009, and from lifting on a call, on an ambulance call, and yeah, that ended his career. Yeah. And there's been, you know, another previous member that just retired a few years ago, he had some back injury, back problems from lifting as well, so.
They're doing it daily.
I am
Right,
familiar
right.
with some of the emergency services in the central Maine area, and I know of several that have had to deal with that. And I can guarantee the $20,000 difference in the 2 of those in cost is much less than it would be to have a single claim, especially if somebody's lifting a patient, the patient goes down with it, so I don't know, if it's in the reserve, I think it's a no-brainer, but.
Yeah.
well, the discussion on the floor right now is that Eric is requesting 2 mounts at this time and a power load stretcher. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to purchase 2,
Just the 2 mounts, not a stretcher, just the 2
yeah,
mounts.
amounts.
The stretchers are all set to go. Those.
But you wanted a power load stretcher too?
No, the load, the power load is the mounting system that's there. The stretchers, we have one that's already retrofitted for that mount, and then the other ones, they just gotta put a little kit on one of our others, our current stretchers, that'll make it
I
work.
misunderstood.
So just 2 power load systems, which are $26,300 each, and that's installed. That's the quote that I was given there, that's installed.
Yeah, so I make a motion to purchase 2 power lift stretcher mounts for the $26,300 from the reserve accounts.
I will second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Try to
Thank
be
you. Now,
proactive
can
and
I-
react.
Can I do this now, or do I gotta wait for the new fiscal year?
I would just say that to go see Carol there and fill out a reserve transfer form
Okay.
and the amount that you need, and give her the quote so she can attach that
Yep.
for her bookkeeping.
Okay.
And then the board will come in and sign, we'll put it on the back desk,
Okay.
and the board can come in and sign off.
Is there any way we could try to cut a deal, because we're buying 2?
I'm gonna try,
I
absolutely.
mean, it's worth
Yeah.
asking, you can get it for 50 grand instead of, 52, whatever.
Like a buy one, get one.
Yeah.
What's
They
that?
have photos on that?
50%,
Yeah,
yeah.
Paul's in for that.
Buy one, get one half off.
To save some money there, we can give it to Kevin for his room there.
Okay, thank you, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Anything else, Eric?
That's all I got
Very good.
for now.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Next-
Gary, are we,
Next department will be recreation.
recreation, I think that's 600?
Recreation is 600.
Huh?
Yep. Hi, Sam.
Gary, did you have anything to add off here, or?
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
We're good to run through it? Okay. So, the summary of the proposed budget for this year, haven't decided to increase or decrease anything, it stays the same from the previous year. COVID hit us pretty hard, but still had to, keep the lights on, keep going, so. So starting at the top, salaries and wages, the 2% COLA increased $4,700. Employee benefits also increased. Going down to operating expenses, clothing and safety equipment stayed at $375. Dues, subscriptions, memberships, that stayed at $300. Printing and advertising stayed at $500. From last year, it had increased $200. Trying to boost some of these programs that we're trying to do, mostly for Facebook advertising. I think the new town app will help us in that regard, but doesn't help to push the info out even further. Travel and training, that stays at $1,400. Moving on to supplies, office supplies, that's still $1,300. General supplies stays the same at $1,000. It had increased the previous year from $500 to $1,000, primarily for the purchase of first aid kits. They're in need of an upgrade, so just accounting for that cost. I'm going to talk to Eric about purchasing some new materials, but that's pretty much what it was for. Janitorial supplies, that's at $2,150. We did spend a lot this past year running our summer camp due to COVID. Had to disinfect, a lot of disinfecting costs, but that'll stay the same. I think it's kind of plateaued, and so we'll be kind of running things the way that we've been, probably more disinfecting more than we have been in the past, but it'll stay the same now. So moving on to utilities, electricity, that went up.
Okay, and I'll chime in here, so just so you guys want to pencil it in, we plugged in a new 13% increase, and so we moved that number up to 25,000 at the rec department. Now, keep in mind that the rec department, it's worth talking about because it's a big number. But there's a lot of facilities there. You've got the Boy Scout building, you've got, you've got the rec, you've got the boat launch, you've got Birch Point. What else do we have that comprises a lot of that electrical expense?
Bicentennial Park.
Bicentennial, there's a lot of accounts on there. And then the rec department is, the building itself is, we had a discussion about that last year. What was the driving cost of electricity over there at the multi?
I believe it's the lights. The lights, they're not super energy efficient. There are, I think it's pretty costly to switch them from what they are now to LED lights, but if we would do that, it would be a significant cost savings. Gerald and I had talked to Reno about how much we would save compared to what it would cost to put them in, and I think right now the rebates aren't it wouldn't be advantageous for us to do that right now, but maybe in the future. He's pretty good at letting Gerald know if there's good rebates. I know they had done that in the past, switched them when the prices were good, so I guess we'll just keep an eye out and revisit that in the future if it comes up.
Just a quick question. I know a lot of facilities have gone to motion censored lights, where you walk through the facility and the lights turn on. Is that something that would benefit the rec? Is that something that would save money? Maybe Gerald can, heard of those at all?
We haven't gone to that extent, but it's something we can look into.
Like during these down times, like when there's not much going on at the rec, for example, we'll just put the lights on like, halfway or a quarter of the way just so that we can see what we're doing, but it doesn't have to be, every light has to be on. And then when we have programs, obviously during the winter and summertime, they're on full blasting, but.
So do you have lights that are on when nothing is going on?
No.
Never.
Well, I mean, just inside the building when we're working in there.
But you're there working, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, no, when nobody's there, there's no lights on, yeah.
Can I have a question?
Mhm.
Does that include the lighting of the parks, for the baseball games and that for the school department?
Mm-hmm.
So that cost of the school department is borne by you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
keep going.
all right. Telephone, that stays the same, 2,600. Trash, 400. Septic, that's at 1,200. Sewer, $500, that stays the same. Heating fuel, increased 1,500. Yeah,
The new number's $6,500.
locked-in price, yeah, 6,500. Water fees, that's at 1,300, that stays the same. Internet, 3,600, that stays the same as well.
But we're gonna look into that.
Yeah, I know that was a discussion last budget cycle. We'll look into seeing if we can decrease that line item. Rental lease for minor equipment, that's for our copier. That's at $1,200, that's stayed the same for a few years now. Vehicle and equipment, gas, diesel, propane, that's at 7,000, that's also staying the same. Included in there is obviously propane for the forklift, gas for the vehicles, for tractors. Included in there is also the Four Seasons gas for their snowmobiles as well. They bring us their slips and we pay that as well. I guess
That's offset.
It's been
It's somewhat offset.
moving on to repair and maintenance of the vehicles, that's at $4,525. We've spent quite a bit on our tractor repair, so that number, we've exceeded the budget for that line item last year and probably this year as well, just due to putting Band-Aids on the tractors, but that'll stay the same. We'll see what we can do. General maintenance, fire, alarm, and sprinkler, $1,650. That stays the same. We still have the same sprinkler system as we did last year, so that's obviously a area of concern, looking into replacing the sprinkler system, but for now, that's what we have in that line item. Building repair and maintenance, parks and restrooms, $9,000, that's staying the same. We'll probably have some added expenses for the new pocket parks, but we'll try to keep it at that same 9,000 and see what we can do to work within that number. Multi-purpose building repair, $4,000, that stays the same. And then we have, moving on, program expenses. Tent supplies, we have $1,000 budgeted, that stays the same. Special programs, $3,000, that stays the same as well. Exciting special program, when Keith Sear was here, we have a pump track from Bike Main matching grant that we got approved for, so looking at putting that in this spring, so that part of that will go to helping fund that project. American flags, they're $750, that stays the same as well, and Christmas decorations, $800, which also stays the same.
So your new bottom number would be, the adjustments that I gave you should be $441,750, $441,750, for an overall increase over last year of $8,942, $8,942. Sam, while Sam's here, we talked about, when we get into our capital reserves, our capital purchases, talked about the tractor that we have, and ours is in pretty bad shape. Sam got a quote to replace it's a front-mounted one, right, mower tractor?
Yes, yep.
And the attachments that come with that, I believe it's in the budget right now. It's a place mark in the budget, right on top of your capital and reserves page, for $42,500. That's the proposed budget right now. It encompasses that, and it's part of your summary for the whole town budget right now. So we'll talk about whether or not we want to leave that in there I don't know if it needs to be done tonight, but.
Just a little background info on the tractor itself, just so you guys know, it's a 2003. It has 473 hours on it right now. It's the one with the cab, so we use it primarily in the wintertime, but it's used year-round. The belly pan is rotted. We just recently put $1,600 to replace a gearbox in the snow blower. Luckily, we have Public Works that was leaking oil just recently, and they fixed it. Seems to be still kind of leaking oil, so there's been continuous Band-Aids put on it over the years. It's almost 20 years old, so that's just the state that it's in. It's getting to a point where the things that break down, it's gonna cost more over the time to fix it than it will be, might as well just rip the Band-Aid off at some point.
So what are the attachments on it? Is there a sweeper on that?
Yes, comes with a sweeper, front-mounted snow blower, 60-inch mower deck in the front as well, cab, hydraulic, so 2 wheels in the back, because some of the places that we mow, high school field, for example, baseball field's pretty steep, kind of big grade, so you need that double wheel system to not, topple over. Pretty much with the attachments does everything that we need it to do.
So again, the attachments are sweeper, mower, what else?
The cab, the front-mounted snow blower. I believe that does it. Gerald, am I missing anything?
No, he said, you nodded his head.
No, but we're good.
I can't hear you nod, Joe.
Yeah. No, we're good. That's all the attachments.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So, again, you're mowing fields for the school. They're not willing to pitch in some money to buy this?
It's.
I realize it's the same tax dollar, but it's not, because it makes your budget inflated, which is not your true expenses if it was your own department you were taking care of.
Right. It doesn't seem like they want to have the conversation about, I don't know, it just, comes back to the shared services thing.
Shared, yeah, but the only sharing is that we're paying the bill and they're not.
Well, yeah, and then the Public Works comes into play, and the fitness
Yeah.
center being in the school, and, there's a lot of things that apparently come into play there, so, they have a tractor in
And
their
they're not,
maintenance department, as well as they have
so they can't
maintenance
take care
guys
of
as
their
well,
own fields?
so last spring, we needed their help to do their grounds, so, Al asked Paul to, have their maintenance guy at least, trim their grounds, so they were able to do that,
Wow. okay.
which leads me to believe, they could probably continue to do that, which, I guess a conversation would need to be had to see what their stance is on it, but I would fully support them helping pay
Oh,
for
they
the
should.
tractor.
It's their fields.
Yeah, the soccer field as well,
Yeah,
yeah.
Do they have a good tractor?
I believe they have a brand
The
new
selectmen
tractor.
should let them use it.
I don't know if it's a tractor necessarily that would cut the soccer fields, for example. I don't know if it's precise enough for that, but they have a tractor and with a mowing deck that they could do their school grounds, at least I believe.
Yeah, you do high school and the elementary school, right?
No, elementary school, no, we don't. But the soccer fields, yes, we do.
Is there a way that somebody could look into
Was doing the high school.
what
now, so-
sort of, I guess, like,
You were on the high school.
side agreements there are between the school and what the town budget is absorbing that directly relates to those costs? For example, the town garage, I'm not saying that, at the end of the day, it's probably all gonna come out of our pockets one way or the other, but it's very difficult to present a budget when some of those figures are directly tied to somebody else's department, I guess, per se. So it seems to me if we had some more clarification, what used to be 20 years ago may not be working the same as it used to anymore. And that all needs to get looked at somehow or another, maybe
So,
clarifying who's gonna do what here going forward, because it seems to
Because
me,
if you're looking at the pie, and the school department takes quite a big piece of that pie, I'm gonna say just, 40, 50%. Actually, that pie's wrong. the townspeople are believing that pie. But actually, if you count the municipal garage and everything everybody else is doing, that pie might be right at the halfway mark or over.
So,
It's way over.
as a comparison,
You know
what
what I
other
mean?
towns are doing, I can tell you about
It used
ones
to be.
where I used to work in Senegat.
Okay,
They were a district and not a department of the town, like this one, our school is not a district, or an RSU or an AOS. But in Senegat, Public Works went to plow the schoolyard, we had a rate and we charged per hour, we tracked the time when we went there, we charged so much for a plow truck, we had a rate for the plow truck, we had a rate for sanding, we had a rate for payloader, we had a rate for grader, and that was basically the extent of the services that the town would provide to the school. And the school would pay the town that rate. We would give them the number every year, so they knew, and estimate, based on history, how much they could budget for, and, so that's how it was done when I was there. Here,
But the actual numbers that are given to the townspeople aren't accurate. And I
so,
don't
I
think,
mean, here, and like the rec department budget too, I mean, I want to put in a plug for them a little bit here, not a plug, if plug's the right word, but, their department, it's not just activities and sports, right? They take care of a lot of facilities, buildings, their staff, do the custodial work in some of this building, like downstairs. Gerald's, the maintenance guys, but salary comes from there. We have a lot of facilities, the boat landings. There's a lot that ties to that, the cost of maintaining the fields, the athletic fields that we maintain. It's not just the cost of the tractor, but it's the cost of the gas and the cost of the labor for the person who's running them over. The treatments that we put on, the fertilizer and all that stuff. So they have it's not just activities that they do.
I know last year when we talked about the school budget, we had discussed trying to get a little more understanding, a little more breakdown of that particular budget and the line items that go with it, because we reviewed this the same way last year, that there was a pretty high expense on the Parks and Recreation Department. And I still think that a lot of that is not a direct cost associated by that department in itself. I'd like to see more information on how that budget's working out, because it seems to me that there's gotta be I don't know, something don't seem right. It's not understandable about that.
I know last year I had requested a meeting with the school department, and I think I'd still like to pursue that, because exactly like Chris said, and I think a couple finance members should be involved in that as well, just to go over everything, because there's things that, okay, he's doing the fields and all that, but what people don't also realize is that when he has an event out of town that he has to use a school bus, he's gotta pay for that. He's paying for the driver, he's paying for that transportation. But they're putting the buses for free. So I'm not saying let's change how we're charging things, let's attack the school. That's not what it is. I wanna work with the school to get an understanding, like you're saying. Let's get an understanding of what we're paying for, who's doing what, and maybe eliminate us having to pay for a bus driver, because it all washes itself in the end anyway.
I think that the town taxpayer deserves to see the right numbers, that's what I think.
And I agree.
Right now, we're not seeing the right numbers.
And I agree. So that's where I'd like to see if we can work with the school board and maybe have, 2 board members from each board to meet with them, just to have discussion, open discussions.
Because it involves quite large numbers, I bet, too,
Yeah.
you know?
So I don't know, Chris, if you're,
I'd be
if you guys would
absolutely
be
willing
open
to
to doing that.
If you wanna set something up or whatever, and I'll gladly go sit in and try to get a better understanding of how this is working. And, I don't know as though I'm saying that the school should pay more or less. What I'm saying is we need to understand how it's working. However it's working, they may not even be aware how it's working. They may not be aware of the impact that it's having on the budgets on this end. So I think being it's been that way for a long period of time, it's probably worth reviewing or looking into.
I have to agree with that. I mean, this agreement sounds like it was done some time ago where it might have made sense for certain departments so that it worked for everybody. But today, it's becoming very, very difficult to understand, what you're actually, as the rec department, you're actually covering, for, and I want to say quote unquote, the school, but anyway, I mean, it appears to be significant enough that we're questioning it. And I think that, if we can align a board member from both departments here to go speak to the school department, I think that would be in all of our best interest.
Yeah.
It would even help me out, to understand, I can only present what I have here, but there's a lot of agreements that have been made in the past that, seem somewhat unclear, and it's, who pays for what, and so I would like to know as well.
Your budget looks swelled, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you look at it on paper, it doesn't.
Because I didn't know much of this stuff before I got on the board, and it looks swelled, now I understand it a little bit better, but it should be,
It
looked
would
at.
just be nice if we're gonna break it down, to put those expenses where they belong, so you can see a better picture of what each department's really doing out there. And it holds true with the public works as well. There's some areas in there that are questionable as to how that's really playing out and affecting his budget, so.
But, and then there's other areas too, and I just want to, like, for instance, we have the fitness center, we don't get charged for that. They're not charging us space or heating or
Right.
electrical costs
Yeah.
there, which is, good.
Difficult to break down.
But then we also provide them space for the school office upstairs, so they don't have any heating, or facilities costs for that space upstairs. So some of that is a wash, some of it isn't. And
Right.
and then having a discussion about everything would help to clarify that.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so for the record, both of you will try to meet up with the school department. You want to have, maybe set up a meeting of some kind?
Well,
or-
I think I'll go with Jason, and we'll bring Sam and Chris, and then
Yeah.
we'll reach out to the school and see who they want to have on there and
Yep.
part of that
Okay, very
discussion.
good. Very good. Was that, Sam, is that,
That's all I have for you.
that's all? Any other questions for Sam?
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, that's
Coming.
Is that far enough?
Yeah.
Susie,
What is that, 320?
320.
hi Jim.
Hi, guys.
Jim, floor's yours.
Okay, my budget, I'll go through it with you guys, but nothing, there's no changes, everything is the same.
We did put in a COLA for the fire department, for this, it's been a long time since the volunteers have gotten any increase, so we thought, let's put something in there for them. So the salaries and wages have gone up, that's reflective of the, of the COLA, 2%.
Okay, so starting with employee benefits, well, that's pretty much all the same right there anyways. Operating expenses, clothing and safety equipment, that's stayed at 4,500. Background checks, that stayed at 200. Contracted services, that's our dispatch, 13,500, that stayed the same. Dual subscriptions, memberships, that stayed the same. Employee physical, that stayed the same. Miscellaneous, that's also $500, that stayed the same. Professional fee of $4,000, that's the same. Training and travel, that's also the same amount. Office supplies, I'm gonna leave it at 1,000. And general supplies, which is 1,500, that stayed the same also. Electricity, it's gonna stay the same.
Yeah, and Jim, I added some in there, so let me get to my spreadsheet. We changed that number for electricity to 1,025, based on that 13% increase. And the other new number for you is gonna be the heating oil,
Heating oil,
which is now 4,000.
4,000. Telephone is the same, 3,200.
Jim,
And-
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you have any lines for phone that are traditional hard, like copper, for consolidated, that you need to keep over there?
I have one, yeah, it's for my fax, that's the only one I have.
Okay.
one fax, and I use that quite a bit.
You use that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Jason was talking about maybe a different option, because like I looked at some of these fax lines, they're 200-something bucks a month, which is crazy.
Mhm.
So I think, that's what I'm saying, is I think that once we figure out exactly what we can cut off for numbers, for fax lines, then we can sit down with Consolidated and say, you gotta give us a better price. So would you be open to having a different kind of fax setup if Jason says it?
Well, the reason for a fax line, correct me if I'm wrong, but with being hardwired is for security purposes. And I don't know going to what Jason's saying, if it's still secure, because a lot of that, like for us, it's, you have documents from the employees or stuff, certain stuff that, you know, comes through that. I was always told that that's why we have a copper line. But now with the technology today, I don't know.
Yeah, with Office 365, your email's encrypted anyway, so it's not it's actually more secure than the phone line, because somebody can actually tap the phone line a lot easier than a secure line, so it's actually changed quite a bit since its inception, but.
So, I don't mind, as long as I have something, that's all.
But for him, in order for you to be able to fax, you'd have to have the scanning, you'd have to have the flatbed to scan and stuff like that, right?
You've got a paper document, yeah.
So what, is that gonna be costing us more, or how's that?
The prices are actually, you get a town plan, it's actually a lot cheaper, especially $200 a month.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna pay maybe $10, $15 a month, you know,
Okay.
for a plan.
For,
And what's nice is, let's say you have Microsoft Word open and you type out a fax, or you've got a form to fill out, you type it out, you go file and print and punch in the phone number and it faxes it out. I mean, it's quite a.
Does that work off your regular fax machine, or is this something different?
It goes over the internet. It works off the internet.
Do you use the fax
Right off the
machine? though,
computer.
or
No, you
what
don't.
do you use,
the
just your
fax.
copier, or?
You use your regular computer or your copier, yeah.
so would we have to add that into the suite of Microsoft 365, or is it already there?
The connectivity is built in, but it's a third party that you pay the package to. It's a faxing company that you pay. Yeah.
Can look into that.
It's worth looking into, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I can guarantee you for a full town plan, you're gonna pay less than $200 a month for everybody to fax.
We've been discussing this for
Yeah, it's
the last few
time.
years now.
Yeah.
It's time.
Okay,
And it's sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again, it's actually cheap enough where, let's say Public Works has a fax machine that they don't use very often. Just replacing their line will pay for an entire faxing online system that you can get the fire department to play with and use before getting rid of his fax number, you know what I mean? There's a significant savings there that he can play with it and see, this is not for me, I need to keep my number, or this would work, and let's do it, you know, so.
What's that?
Yep.
Under minor equipment, computer software, $675. Repair, that's for the trucks, it's $5,800, keeping that the same. Vehicle and equipment, gas, diesel, propane, we left it the same, right, Gary?
Yeah,
For now?
yeah.
Repair and maintenance, $9,000, we're gonna leave that the same. Building and maintenance repair, that stay the same at $1,000. Then, that's it, the rest of it's special projects, which is our compressor, which we're paying a lease on every year.
And we're probably, 2 years left on that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Hoses, that stayed the same, that's supposed to be, hold on, they got it on 0 over here. Do you have something for hoses on 8,500?
4,300.
43, right? Okay,
Yeah.
0 here. Okay, 4,300, that stays the same. And that's it. That's all I got. Any questions?
Something else too, for the capital reserve budget, we put in, last year Jim had 40,000 in there for some of the heavier ticket items, bigger ticket items for repairs. We left that 40 in there as a place mark for him. If you, and I talked to Jim about it, said you're looking for, what's a number you're looking for those kinds of capital repairs, reserve, if you will, and you wanted it about the same. So that's what's in there right now. So we'll get into that reserves budget there at a later time, but he's here and, you know, can talk about that.
So just real quick, HIPAA compliant faxing service for 350 total pages per month, unlimited users is $30 a month. So,
For how many?
350 total pages a month.
That's everyone.
Yeah, unlimited users, $29 a month. And you can go higher than that, 750 pages per month, $50. It's secure and HIPAA compliant, so.
Jesus,
Jesus.
that's monstrous.
Wow.
That's monstrous. That's a big, wow.
Big chunk.
And every department here that we've discussed has a fax line?
Not everyone, but
Quite a few.
quite a few.
We do, ambulance does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's those two.
Like I said, the only thing we wanna make sure is that sometimes those are shared, it might be a shared line, it's not just fax, it might be relying on something else too, and
Yeah.
I don't wanna make any big assumptions that that's all that line is doing.
Right.
But we, the plan is to sit down with the department heads and really sit down and say, okay, so this is what we have for consolidated lines.
Yeah.
What's this line doing? We're gonna go department by department and say, all right, can we do it out? Can we do it with that?
Yeah.
Or maybe we can't, you know?
Yeah.
Sewer department and public works, they're gonna need some, to continue to have consolidated lines, but for a phone period.
Yeah.
But maybe not a fax line, like.
Right. And with those savings too, if they don't have a scanner, I mean, you get a scanner for less than $100.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, was there anything else?
I'm all set, you guys all set?
Thanks, Jim. Oh, email.
EMA, that also, that stayed the same.
325.
Yeah.
So Gary, the figure that, now that we've added in a couple of
Oh,
extra
let me give you
expenses.
that number. So the new number now is, for the proposed budget, 139,627, the bottom number, for an increase of 1,260, 1260. So you're good to
All
go
set?
on your EMA, Jim?
You sound-
Yeah. Minor equipment, $2,000, that's gonna stay the same. Upgrade also, that's, in case I have problems, I need to upgrade some of the systems, and I've used it quite a few times, but that's $2,000. And the communication tower, that's $1,000, that too, I'm gonna be using quite a bit of that this week, so, I'd like to leave it the same, that's, I'm using that, so. I know we had proposed for a switch for the elementary school, and that should be coming in pretty soon. I ordered that this, around Christmas time, maybe before. So, but with COVID and everything is so backed up, so I don't know, that should be coming in soon. So we'll be starting that project as soon as we can. Trying to put that switch and get that generator running at the elementary school.
Any other questions for Jim?
Anything else? Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, right now, yep. Yeah. Right, we forgot to mention that. One of the things that Carol's reminded me of, the rec department budget, when we did a lot of our downtown decorations this year, we were like for Halloween and stuff like that, we pulled a lot of decorations out of the rec department because they didn't have their haunted house and all that stuff going on because of COVID. So we want to continue to decorate our downtown. I think Gerald, did we talk, is he still here?
Yep,
Haven't we talked about a couple $1,000s for decorations?
at least, yeah.
Because they're gonna need their decorations, so wanted to put that out there in the rec department budget. If we want to put some money in this so we can keep, keep decorating like we're doing on Main Street. So it's up for discussion.
Everybody's abusing that rec department.
Well, I mean, we can either put it there, or we can put it in Gerald's like municipal building budget, or safety, you know, but it's gotta go somewhere. I don't wanna create a whole new department.
No, but it seems to me the rec's the ones that pretty much put most of that stuff up, or bring it
Right.
down there at least, or transport it, or,
Yeah,
so it seems to me that would be the place to put it.
so,
We're talking what, holiday decorations is what you're talking
Yeah.
about? You're talking about 2,000?
a couple thousand,
I just wanna make note of it.
probably make a note there, just on your rec page somewhere. And we'll figure out exactly where it goes, and where we should put it, if that's the will of everybody.
It's not just holiday stuff, it'll be any type of events.
Yeah, it's holiday stuff, it's not just decorations there, it's to do stuff in the downtown. I do wanna say too that, and there's been a lot of discussion about how we're spending money in beautification and all that stuff, and there is a committee called the Beautification Committee that I'm on there for representing the town. Sam, Gerald, the chamber is part of that as well, and a bunch of volunteers. And a lot of what was done last year was primarily just volunteer work, fundraising. Give you an example of the power of the volunteers and what they can do. This year was a discussion about beautification and what can we do. Put a flower pot on every other lamppost, banner, flower pot, banner, flower pot. And the committee was like, how much is that gonna cost? It could be several $100s. One of the people on the committee thought about doing a fundraiser, buy a flower pot in memory of. Which is up to 70 pots sold already. And people are paying for that, because they know it's in memory of, but it also beautifies the town. So a lot of what's gonna happen in town, this year that you're gonna see is volunteer efforts and fundraising. It's not all taxpayer dollars, so I wanna get it out there.
That was a good idea, the flower
I
pot.
saw that taken off.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
I mean, granted, someone's gonna have to water them, but we'll manage.
Send the rec department.
Well, this is where it's gonna end up.
I was gonna say,
Don't laugh, Jim, fire department. You got the water.
Jim has the best watering capabilities in town,
extra the fire truck.
so just don't do it with a 3-inch hose, okay? So, we've done the budgets that we thought we would want
Yeah.
to bring department heads in for, but we have time to do some smaller budgets. And we wanted to try to keep our meetings under, 3 hours?
Well,
Huh?
Start at 2 and work on
yeah,
it.
so we have a half an hour to 2 hours here right now,
So we still have time to go through some budgets, if you guys want to continue.
So the executive session could take us what?
The executive's half an hour, maybe.
Just
Do
so
we need any of
just so we understand here, we're looking at 2.5. Not you guys, I mean, but us,
Right.
you know?
Which,
So-
that's fine.
I'm asking you to. I know it's fine with you. You okay with that?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll look at another.
All right, so let's look at a couple more departments then.
Okay, so Natalie's here, so let's take a look at elections, which is 140.
140.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so elections went down. Majority was because we didn't have an extra election this year, there's not a big election. So ballot clerks went down to 6,000, moderator went down to 250, warden stayed the same. Employee benefits stayed the same, went down a little bit. Operating expenses, wheels are the same at 500, postage 255, printing and advertising stayed the same at 2,000, and general supplies went down to 500.
So we kind of talk about last year, if you could remember, because of COVID, we didn't have our town meeting in the right
Mhm.
fiscal year, so we had to budget for an extra one. On all those costs, which is this year, obviously, so that's one of the reasons why it went down. Natalie, so what we do with our elections, we're electronic ballot now, and there's a thumb drive that we use to tabulate. So we get that from the state, they have all the programs and stuff. So when the ballot clerks at night, when we count ballots, like for our local elections, we have to buy every year the thumb drive to do that for us. But they put that in there, and it counts out all the tabulates everything, and spits out a report for elections, and it saves us having to pay ballot clerks counting into the night. So we look at the cost savings of that, and it works, and it's cheaper for us, and that's what we've been doing. We've been doing that, we're continuing to do that.
I thought you worked harder than that, now that you give away your secret.
Yeah.
We work hard to save you money. So, any questions on elections?
No.
Okay. The next one we'll do is general assistance, GA, which is the 120. Did Donna come in? No. GA, we are mandated by law to fund general assistance, public health and general assistance. And we're basically flat funding this year. We have $2,500 for our health officer. That's not necessarily GA, but it's public health and general assistance. We have, of course, the benefits trend with that. Employee operating expenses for employee safety and wellness, that is, in our personnel policy, employees can take advantage of benefits for buying boots and, safety things and whatnot. They don't all take advantage of that. Obviously, you can see there's residual money left over. We don't spend all of it, but it's there for the taking if the employees want it. Office supplies, $500. And then down below is your GA budget, which is $12,000, the same as last year. Electrical assistance, electrical service, $1,000. Heating assistance, $1,000. Household personal supplies, $750. $350 for medical prescriptions, and then $1,500 for all other, for a total of that GA budget of $16,600. I want to say again, I did it last year and I'm going to do it again this year. Donna Leonard does an outstanding job with GA. If you can just take a look at the heating assistance there, we didn't pay anything last year. It's because Donna is really good and resourceful at finding other places and helping people find assistance through LIHEAP or ACAP, and making sure, to send those people there before here, because GA is supposed to be emergency and the last place for help. And so she does a really good job at it.
I noticed there's no adjustment on that wage on that one. There's no adjustment on the wage for that one, the COLA. Is that accurate for that one?
Her wages are paid through the admin budget.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we don't really assign any time to that here. Any questions on GA? Not, I think what we can do, would be a really easy one. We can go to the debt service budget, which is $730. So going down, the first item that we have on there is our 2020 single axle truck box lease, $53,539. It's the same as last year. That we are in our second payment of that truck, so we have four more years to go with the one that I just mentioned. Our paving CSO loan, that is a loan from 2014, I believe. And it was tied to a sewer project, but the town did some paving. They brought that in on the town side. That payment is $117,176. We have one payment left. It's this one right here. And our paving project that we approved at the town meeting, the borrowing for that is going to happen after this fiscal year, so our first payment will be due in the next fiscal year. Okay, so our new debt payment for the big $3 million project will be somewhat offset, maybe by a third, I'm rounding obviously
Right.
here, by this 117 that's gonna fall off, okay? Our downtown loan, that's our revitalization loan, that little project right there is still ongoing. The bond proceeds are not fully spent yet, we still have projects in the works. Payloader lease, 36032. Kevin, still here?
Yep.
Kevin, we have 3 years left on that, right?
On the loader,
On the payloader lease, the Volvo?
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
I don't have the paper in front of me, but.
The pickup, Public Works pickup truck lease, 7173, that's the supervisor's, Kevin's pickup, he's got 2 payments left on that, I believe. The white 1-ton pickup, this is the second payment of 5. And the street light project lease, that's the new street lights that we put in, not the ones on Main Street, but the Cobra heads that we changed, that we now own across the whole town. We changed out, we now own the street lights in town. Just to kind of recap, I know I mentioned this last year. Emera Maine does no, or Versant does no longer owns and charges us for street lights. We just pay for the electricity based on a set rate. It's very little money. We don't pay lease for lights anymore, so that resulted in huge savings. It's part of our, the street light you'll see in our intergovernmental budget, went from $90,000 a year for street lights down to, I think $24,000 this year. So when we did this project 2 years ago, the payback, return on investment was less than 3 years for that, and projected to save us almost $1 million over 20 years. Streetlights, just in streetlights. So 3 payments left after this year for that, and that will fall off. Any questions on debt service? Besides that, I don't know if you guys want to do more, or you're good. I think that we would probably have 2 more meetings to do the first pass. Two in-depth, like, with some bigger budgets,
Yeah.
obviously. The only other simple one that's left is insurances. Once we get the number, townwide insurances, that'll be pretty much a rubber stamp. It shouldn't take much more than a few minutes. But I have somewhere, I'm thinking that probably 2 really good lengthy meetings to get us through, or 3 shorter meetings. Our next one is for next Tuesday. We'll have to set another date, maybe we can do that before you guys leave for the next one meeting for sure. First of all, did you guys, are we all set with the budgets we covered, or did you want to pick another one? Huh? Was that you?
I said I'm all set, sorry. I think
You're all budgeted out?
I got notes to look at and review and then.
Okay. So what do you guys have for availability for not next Tuesday, we're already set for that one. That agenda's gonna go up tomorrow. How does April 6th, Tuesday the 6th work for you?
I'm fine with that, I just soon do them and get them done with. So I'm good with it.
What about, and then one more after that, Tuesday the 13th, well,
The 13th.
Tuesday the 13th?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay.
If we need it, you think?
I think we're gonna need 2, because we have, pollution control's a big budget.
We have 3 now. We have 1 next week and then 2 more.
Oh, that's right, I said 2 more. So let's leave it at 1 more after this one, after next week. And then if we have to schedule another one, then
I mean, it's easier for me to schedule it ahead of time. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I'd rather leave it open, and if we don't need it, cancel it.
Okay. Well, I won't post the agenda till the week before anyway, so.
Right, yeah.
I don't,
Let's do that.
I don't know how you guys, once we pass through this the first time, if we keep the one on the 13th, whether we have them or not, at least we can meet as a finance committee, go over what we have, where we stand, if we have any other information to bring back on our next pass around, so.
Yeah.
If we could at least meet as a finance committee, we can put it out as both, but.
Yep.
I'd like to at least do the finance committee for that one. In hopes that we'll be done reviewing the first pass, we can gather our notes on our end and.
Okay.
So what date is that, Chris?
Be the 13th of April, so we have one on the 6th and one on the 13th,
Mhm.
correct?
And then one next week.
Next
Yeah.
week on the 30th, yeah.
Right.
And that's over here?
Yep.
So, we don't address anything else as far as the budget?
It's up to you guys if you want to go for another budget item, it's up
Do
to
you
you.
have another one that's somewhat,
What else would we look at that would be too long? Huh? 100 is governing body, yeah? Take a look at that.
Which one is it, 9?
100.
Oh,
100, the first one on your pack.
Okay.
is that over you, Gary?
I can take the lead on that, so we're proposing to leave the salaries and wages the same at $11,750. The employee benefits, $775, $175 for Medicare. Public officials liability insurance, that's one number that is fluid. We're gonna wait to see what the insurance renewal looks like. The audit, we did bring that up to 18,000, and we did that because we're going out to RFP, request for proposals. We haven't done that in a long time, and so that's been sent out. The board's gonna basically, the audit is done for the board and then for the town, obviously. So once we get the proposals, you know, we're gonna see what the prices look like, and the board's gonna decide who they want to provide auditing services. At that time, we'll have a number for that, and also, I think, Carol, the way that we structured the RFP is for three years, so we wanna know what you're gonna charge next year, the year after, and the year after, because if a new firm comes in to do an audit, it takes a while to set it up, to bring the town's finances into their system, if you will. It would be advantageous for them to only have a 1-year shot at it, do all that upfront work, and not be able to do it year after year for a couple of years, so that's what it's looking like, and, what's the date, Carol, for the audit, RFP?
In a couple of weeks, until the Friday.
I'm putting you on the spot here, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll have that number before we're done this budget process, obviously. I'm anticipating that it would probably go up. So, that's why it's in the increase. But we can hope that it doesn't. 1325 for dues and memberships. We're carrying forward 20,000 in legal. We still have some cases that are ongoing, that are gonna not be done this year. So we're leaving that right there, or proposing to anyway. Miscellaneous is 1,000. Travel and trading, 3,500. Obviously, that's not a line, it was reduced last year, and it's not a line item they got a lot of use this year because nobody's traveling. But we're proposing to leave it right there. General supplies is 1,000, and 500 for a minor equipment upgrade, and that would be for, if we needed to service their iPads and things like that, or something related to their email accounts. You know, we would have to do some professional services there. Any questions on that? Anybody want to do more? 110, do the admin? Is everybody still on for a little bit more, or do you want to call it a day?
What time is it? 6:40? Yeah, we get time.
Do one warrant.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So we'll do the admin budget, which is the town office budget. That budget includes my salary, the 3 clerks, HR, payroll, finance, the 3 people in the finance department. That's what that includes. So, let me get to the page here. So right now, that, we're budgeting 295,076, that includes the 2% COLA. Let me make sure I got the right worksheet here, hold on. Yep. Following down, the trends for benefits follows the payroll, basic retirement, 28,443. Health insurance is 112,318. The reason for the increase there is because we now have somebody in our plan that requires family plan. And before, we had somebody in our office that was on somebody else's insurance. So there's an increase in cost there. Social Security, 18,295. Employer Medicare, 4279. Dental, 1750. Deferred compensation, 70,000, it's unchanged. Moving down to operating expenses, animal welfare, that's $300. And that, I think some of that is, we use that for some of the mobile vet stuff. It's not a line that gets a lot of use, but it's there. Dues and memberships, 1,500. Miscellaneous is 1,000. We no longer have bank fees. With the banking, where we do our finance now, where our operating accounts are. We used to be with TD Bank, and the fees were exorbitant, and so we went to Cataldo Trust, and we don't have to pay banking fees right now. Postage is 4,000. Printing and advertising, 6,000. Travel and trading, 14,000, which is up from last year by 2. Office supplies, we brought last year's down because we knew COVID was going to keep us grounded. COVID's going to keep us grounded for a little while longer, so we can always go back and look at that number. Office supplies, 9,500, unchanged from last year. Software, computer, phone, 1,500, unchanged. 2,800 for rental, and that is the office copier contract. And that is, let me see. Yeah. So the bottom line for the town office is 507,761 for an increase of 12,622. And most of that is really associated with COLA. And the increase in the health insurance was at $8,918 increase. The lion's share of that is right there. Any questions on admin? Not? Anybody want to do more? I take care of the developing new codes budget now.
You know, at this point though, I mean, I think it would be time for us.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is, for the next budgets that we're gonna look at, I foresee maybe doing social services and having anybody that wants to come here and speak on behalf of the request being part of the next one. For sure, and doing the intergovernmental, maybe pollution control, development codes, library, we still have the library. So there's still some work to do, but covered a lot.
Okay, very good.
Any questions for me? Anything you need before your next meeting that you'd like to have?
I think so. If anybody wants something, let me know and I'll send an email or, but, I don't know. So we're good to adjourn, huh?
You're good to adjourn, so we can go, into our executive session, yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Can I make a quick statement before we go into executive session? Public issues we have with that.
So you wanna make that public, so everybody can.
Yeah, just to let them know that if they're waiting.
Okay.
Do you have your post-executive sheet? I'll give it from you. And you just bring, good to go? I have to do a motion. Sorry.
While we're waiting for everybody to go here, Jason had, a few words.
I'm gonna end your Zoom meeting. We want to give a second.
This doesn't pertain to the Zoom anyway.
Yeah, so I just want to make a quick announcement for the businesses who registered for the town application. When the app was first launched, there was a small issue that caused the applications to not show up. So if you're registered as a business and you have not been approved yet, please go ahead and register again and we'll process the application, because we did have a few bugs in that first launch of the app that did not allow the businesses to register, so. That's it.
Very good. Okay, back to Article 1. To consider union labor negotiations with the Madawaska Police Department / New England Police Benevolent Association, Incorporated. Executive session recommended. 1 MRSA subsection 405 6D. Do I have a motion?
Yep, I make a motion to enter executive session as stated.
All in favor? We are now in executive session.
Okay, you're all set.
Okay, so we're out of executive session. Any other discussion, any other businesses that we need to bring up? Okay.
A motion to come out of executive
Do we need a motion to go up? We do?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all in favor? We're out of executive session. Any other business or anything else we need to discuss this evening?
That's it.
Entertain a
You've
motion
already
to
said
adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion is carried. We are adjourned at 7:26.